Have you ever tried to explain your design idea but people just didn't get it? Or tested your product only to find users using it in ways you never expected? That's where scenario testing and video scenarios come in. These two powerful design tools help us step into the user's shoes, find problems before they happen, and tell compelling stories that make ideas come alive. In the next 5 minutes, I'll show you how they work. With real-life examples I've tried myself. Let's dive in. Let's start with scenario testing. Scenario testing is a qualitative method used to evaluate the user experience of a product or service by simulating real-life situations. Rather than just asking for feedback, we create fictional but realistic stories based on potential users and walk through how they would interact with our design. These scenarios help us uncover usability problems, emotional reactions, and unexpected behaviors. For the scenario testing video, I used my Stanley thermos. First, I boiled some water and brewed my tea. The lid mechanism was very practical and easy to use. Since my backpack didn't have a separate compartment for bottles or thermoses, I had to place the thermos in the same section as my books. I was worried it might leak or damage the books. I was running late, so I walked briskly to the seaside. When I arrived, I was pleasantly surprised to see that the thermos hadn't leaked at all. Everything inside my bag was completely dry. Once I sat down and started reading my book, I wanted to have some tea. At that point, I noticed a usability issue. I couldn't open the lid using just one hand. It required both hands and a bit of effort, which interrupted the experience a little. However, when I finally opened it, the tea was still piping hot. Later that evening, while doing the dishes at home, I struggled to clean the thermos because its mouth was narrow. As a result, the bottom remained dirty. Overall, while the thermos performed very well in terms of heat retention and leak protection, it could benefit from a more ergonomic lid for one-handed use and a wider mouth for easier cleaning. Now, let's move on to video scenario. A video scenario is a short, scripted video that visually demonstrates how a product or service fits into a user's life. It combines storytelling with real-world context and allows stakeholders to see the emotional and functional impact of a design. It's especially useful when you want to communicate your concept clearly to people who may not be designers, like clients, investors, or users. It's an early Sunday morning. I wake up to the soft light coming through the curtains and the distant sound of seagulls. While the tea is brewing, I take a moment to settle in with a book. The steam rises gently from my cup, and I lose myself in the pages, savoring the quiet morning. The lid closes with a satisfying click, sturdy, reliable. Once my tea is ready, I pack the thermos and my book into my backpack. Since my bag doesn't have a separate compartment for the thermos, I place it alongside my books. I quickly zip up the bag and head out the door, feeling the crisp air as I walk briskly toward the seaside. I can already smell the sea breeze. The taste of the sea is in the air, blending perfectly with the warmth of the sun and the soothing sound of the waves crashing on the rocks. The thermos stays securely sealed. No leaks. I finally arrive at the beach, find a spot to sit on the rocks, and pull out my book and thermos. As the day went on, I drank my hot tea and sparked my creativity. I'm glad I bought this product. In conclusion, both scenario testing and video scenario are powerful methods used to evaluate and communicate user experiences through storytelling. They both rely on real-life contexts and user journeys to uncover design-related insights. However, they serve slightly different purposes and formats. Scenario testing focuses more on evaluating how a product performs in a realistic situation, often involving actual use and observing whether it meets user expectations. It's practical, reflective, and usually performed individually. On the other hand, video scenario is more about communicating a design idea or user journey through scripted storytelling, often with dramatized scenes. It aims to present a concept visually and emotionally to stakeholders, rather than strictly test a product. While both methods use narrative structures and real-world elements, scenario testing is more analytical and experience-based, whereas video scenario is more expressive and communicative. Thank you for attention.